The fragile calm that cloaked Dub Nation just shattered, because the chessboard of NBA destiny is shifting beneath our feet with a seismic move that no Splash-era fan could have fully braced for. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with Splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Tonight, we peel back the curtain on a colossal piece of Warriors news that ticks all the boxes: veteran savvy, championship hunger, and a roster shakeup that could either vault Golden State into renewed title contention or spawn a cascade of uncertainties. The 39-year-old Al Horford, fresh off a sturdy season with the Boston Celtics, averaging a reliable 9 points, 6.2 boards, and 2.1 assists across 60 games, is primed to ink a deal with the Warriors for the next campaign. Stepping away from the storied green and gearing up to chase another NBA Finals dream next to none other than Steph Curry. Yes, the very core of Dub Nation's heart, the Splash Brothers' heartbeat, is about to synchronize with Horford's cerebral, timber-taming presence. And if you thought this was just another signing, you're missing the undercurrent here. NBA insider Jake Weinbach confirms a verbal agreement is in place with the former All-Star and champion. But there's a catch: the Warriors' moves are waiting in limbo until the saga of Jonathan Kuminga's contract situation resolves, a mystery that has grown more tense with each passing day. This isn't just about Horford. It's a delicate dance with salary cap constraints, a hard cap ceiling hovering menacingly over Golden State's financial maneuvers, dictating every dollar that can be spent, every extension that can be offered. Put simply, Golden State's future hinges on how it navigates this tricky balancing act, because alongside Horford, the Warriors are poised to bring back vital defensive guards Gary Payton II and De'Anthony Melton, the glue guys who have been instrumental in the team's recent identity. Yet the pulse of this narrative quickens when you consider the broader NBA landscape, because while the Warriors may be loading their present depth, their Pacific Division rivals just dealt a jarring blow to those 2027 ambitions. The Los Angeles Lakers have just cemented Luka Doncic's future with a 3-year, $165 million extension, a masterstroke that seals Doncic's status as the Lakers' franchise cornerstone for years to come. Remember that stunning February trade? It's already shifted the balance of power. But this latest move by the Purple and Gold ensures they aren't just contenders, they are architects of a looming star-studded dynasty that hangs like a sword over Golden State's once clear path forward. Doncic's contract, surprisingly less than what the Dallas Mavericks might have commanded pre-trade, actually signals the Lakers' savvy, preserving cap space to cherry-pick more star talent for that pivotal 2027 offseason. The fact that Doncic stands as the sole Lakers player locked in beyond 2027 with a guaranteed contract except for Jarred Vanderbilt is a loud message. The Lakers are building an auction block designed to attract the cream of the NBA elite. Now, juxtapose that against the Warriors' relatively blank 2027 ledger with only Moses Moody's $13.4 million guaranteed. This stark contrast unlocks the potential for a full-scale roster revamp, a blank canvas that could welcome unprecedented reinforcements. But here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. Golden State's maestro Steph Curry, along with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, all loom as impending free agents heading toward 2027. The stakes skyrocket. This isn't merely a crossroads. It's a crucible where legacies will be forged or fractured. The Warriors dream of attracting a supernova like Giannis Antetokounmpo, whose name reverberates like a siren call through front offices league-wide, slows to a cautious tempo. Why? Because the Warriors have refused to extend Kuminga beyond 2 years, holding on to maximum spending flexibility as a calculated bet on 2027's riches. Yet with Doncic now an immovable force destined for a purple and gold renaissance, Golden State's strategy faces a pragmatic, harsh reality. Players will gravitate toward the youthful, transcendent prime of Doncic rather than the twilight years of a 39-year-old Curry. Could this be the watershed moment that turns everything on its head for these storied franchises? Will the Lakers' newfound financial and roster stability halt Golden State's dynasty dreams dead in their tracks, or will the Warriors engineer a legendary comeback worthy of the "we believe" spirit that surged from the ashes in past seasons? The emotional peaks and valleys of the Splash era are etched into our souls, Steph lobbing threes like grenades, Draymond's defensive wizardry disrupting the best offenses, and Klay Thompson's ice-cold precision raining down in the most monumental moments. Now, standing at this inflection point, the Warriors must grapple not just with who they add or keep, but with the very essence of their identity and the echoes of their championship past. Could Horford's veteran presence and savvy on the glass be the missing piece to complement Curry's genius and the lightning-in-a-bottle brilliance that Kuminga and Moody represent? Or is this a stopgap, a last stand before the inevitable reckoning with the brutal NBA clock? What about the paradox of youth versus experience, the hunger of tomorrow's stars pitted against the sagas of this era's legends? It all converges beneath the surface of front office decisions, contract whispers, and cap sheet gymnastics, a high-stakes drama worthy of the greatest basketball tragedies and triumphs. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, caught between hope and apprehension, as Golden State stands on the precipice of reinvention or possible unraveling. But is this the ignition point for our next title run? Or the crack that splits our legacy? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If the thought of Al Horford pulling on that blue and gold jersey next season sent a chill down your spine, then let that roar explode in the comments, because what we're staring at right now is an offseason so earth-shaking it could either reboot the Splash era into an unstoppable juggernaut or rip it apart into 1,000 shattered dreams. This isn't a mid-level tweak or a side dish trade. This is tectonic. Horford's veteran savvy arrives like a double-edged broadsword, a beacon of experience that can steady a boat rocking in choppy waters or plunge it deeper into the abyss for a roster navigating the narrowest of championship razor edges. We're perched on the precipice, watching the salary cap carve up the roster like a heart surgeon, every dollar now a bullet loaded into Golden State's chamber. Every contract swap a gamble on legacy, durability, and the soul of the franchise. The agonizing patience, or is it paralysis? Around Jonathan Kuminga's extension isn't just a bureaucratic stall. It's a looming shadow that could either fuel a roaring revival or torch the bridge to tomorrow's glory. Picture the Chase Center locker room where the young flames of Kuminga and Moody, bright and feral, collide and fuse with Horford's old-school discipline and steely calm. Can that alchemy fortify our foundation, or does it risk combusting into a meltdown of clashing egos and misaligned roles? Meanwhile, whispers of Gary Payton II and D'Anthony Melton's returns hint at a defensive backbone so grit-steeped it could turn highlight reels into footnotes, grounding this flashy crew in the relentless trench warfare that championships are built on. But here's the twist. The Warriors aren't playing checkers. They're wrestling with quantum chess. Locking down Luka's future in L.A. is a thumb nose to the notion that seasoned vets and Splash Brothers flair alone will sustain a dynasty. Luka in purple and gold, flanked by a constellation of stars chasing finals glory, means Dub Nation isn't just fending off the march of time. We're battling the gravitational pull of youth, hype, and limitless promise shining brighter than the Bay Moon. And let's talk about Steph, the man who rewrote basketball physics with his pure stroke, now carrying the weight of his legacy like Atlas with the globe. As the fog of impending free agency creeps over the Warriors, the question isn't if he can still launch from the logo, it's if his mind and body can endure the crucible of reinvention. Or if the 2027 deadline becomes less a new beginning and more a final reckoning. Draymond, Breen's fiery spirit, his heart that blazed through 5 finals runs, now stands at a crossroads. Hold the line on loyalty or embrace a new chapter that might fracture the brotherhood he helped forge. The tension between honoring the storied past and charting an audacious new course is a savage riddle Kerr and the front office must untangle without blowing up the fragile camaraderie that's been Golden State's cornerstone. What secret edge does Horford really bring beyond the stat sheet? Is it his ice-water composure in crunch time? His chess master mind anchoring defensive schemes? His mentorship that could accelerate the maturation of our raw prospects? Those intangible threads might be the only fibers strong enough to weave into a tapestry already glistening with veteran excellence and untapped youth potential. Or maybe this is all a prelude to a far grander sweep prepping cap space and roster mobility for a seismic summer acquisition. Hunting for the mythical unicorn who can rewire the Warriors' DNA long after the final splash fades. Now imagine the fallout if Kuminga's extension stalls. If Curry lingers on the edge of a last dance that ends without raising another banner, if LA's Doncic-led splendor eclipses our twilight glow, will the Warriors become a stubborn relic clinging to past triumphs, or will they morph into a bold blueprint for sustained excellence? The electrical tension crackles over every handshake and contract negotiation, every training camp confrontation for precious rotation minutes. Andrew Wiggins, whose two-way prowess and unbreakable will were pillars of our 2022, triumph now teeters on a shifting identity, veteran glue guy or movable trade asset in this delicate chess match. And what a Poole, who's off the dribble. Heroics once electrified our faithful. Will he slide into a glittering role as fourth-quarter savior, or find himself squeezed out in the search for a more polished engine? Let's not sugarcoat it for a second. The Kawhi Leonard rumors swirling in other markets loom like a phantom menace rising on the horizon, a constant, nagging reminder that even the strongest dynasties can be undone by forces far beyond their control. What if the Warriors misfire on their 2027 window, the season that was supposed to be our grand crescendo, and instead of stumbling onto a floor littered with confetti and championship banners, we find ourselves left clutching empty? Confetti cannons? What if the free agency bonanza fails to deliver a generational anchor worthy of the Splash era's final act, a true colossus like Giannis or Anthony Davis, and instead we watch our once roaring dynasty reduced to smoldering embers, its flame flickering out under the weight of attritional decline and the creeping inevitability of Father Time? This is no ordinary off-season shuffle. This is the hinge upon which legacies will pivot, the crucible in which dreams are either forged into legend or crucified in humiliating failure. My bones still hum with the electric memory of Game 6 choke jobs, the sickening clack of missed free throws echoing through empty arenas, and the wild, cathartic eruptions of Game 7 masterpieces, when the heavens seemed to part in a tidal wave of confetti cascaded down like a snowstorm of celebration. I can still taste the adrenaline-packed nights when Steph's dagger three pierced the heart of Oklahoma City, sending shockwaves through the basketball world and igniting a roar so fierce it felt as though the entire Bay Area had come alive in a single deafening heartbeat. Now, that same roar hangs in precarious suspension, suspended between two vastly different futures, one in which our dynasty is reborn, glittering anew with the grandeur of a Hollywood epic, and the other in which we watch in horror as the threads of our once mighty tapestry unravel, leaving behind nothing but the tattered remains of greatness and the faint echo of what once was, like a half-remembered dream fading with the dawn. The contrast couldn't be starker. On one hand, the promise of a final, glorious chapter worthy of the names etched on our banners. On the other, the fearful prospect that, without the right pieces, this ship could founder on the shoals of overconfidence as the tides of competition grow ever stronger. But wait, there's more thunder rolling just beyond the locker room door. The whispers from the front office aren't mere static or harmless gossip. They're the deafening thunderclap that heralds a storm capable of flooding the Chase Center with triumphant cheers, or leaving us stranded in the wreckage of shattered hopes. Every clandestine meeting, every cryptic memo, every hushed exchange of phone calls feels like lightning flashing in the distance, warning us that the choices we make now will echo through the next decade of Warrior basketball. So here's the gauntlet I'm throwing down. What's your verdict at this crossroads? Will Al Horford's seasoned hand in championship one wisdom chart our path to the mountaintop, guiding this wounded ship through treacherous waters toward another shining summit? Or are we like hapless sailors clinging to flotsam, clutching at straws as the LA juggernaut led by Luka Doncic gathers force and steamrolls across the West, leaving our twilight glow in its wake? Is this hush-hush patience around Kuminga's extension a stroke of visionary genius that will pay dividends when his raw talent matures into superstar consistency? Or is it the fatal flaw, an Achilles heel that bleeds away our future in draft picks and lost momentum? How deep does your faith run when it comes to Curry and Draymond's on-court performance? Can they summon the fire to lead this crew through one more resurrection? Or will the relentless tick of years push them toward a quiet exit before our new dawn? And beyond that, what grand reset do you crave for 2027? A bold, no-holds-barred overhaul that tears down the old order? Or a cautious, thread-the-needle approach that preserves our core at the risk of stagnation? Spill every unfiltered thought below No Guard, No Filter, because I'm diving headfirst into the comments with you, ready to spar, celebrate, and ride this tidal wave alongside every believer in Dub Nation's fate. If you're not all in right now, when will you ever be?